The most challenging thing is that it takes time to make change. These are things that we celebrate together and we cry together about. And that is one of those, and you're going to get me going, aren't you? That is one of those questions that you asked me about, what will I miss? Those connections. It's been a good 20 years here at OCALI.
Hey everyone, welcome to Connecting the Dots, the Inspiring Change podcast series, courtesy of the Autism Center at OCALI. I'm Simon Buer.
And I'm Megan Trowbridge. Thanks for joining us again today. Today we have a very special treat for you. We are joined by our colleague and good friend, Amy Bixler Coffin. Hey, Amy, welcome to Connecting the Dots.
Thank you, Simon and Megan. It's a pleasure to be here, I think.
No, come on. This is going to be great fun.
All right, so we're really grateful that you came in today to the office. We're at the office today, so thanks for joining us. If you know OCALI, chances are you probably know Amy because she's one of the OGs who was here from the very beginning,
from the start.
All the way back to 2005. She joined OCALI. So just as a brief introduction for those who may not know Amy, she is the director of our Autism Center at OCALI, as well as the Multi-System Navigation Center at OCALI as well. And she's led both of those centers since their inception. So she was there at the very beginning and continues to be to this day.
And it is sort of a bittersweet day for us as we sit with Amy because we are on the brink of her time winding down here at OCALI. She will be retiring later this year, and we wanted to capture this precious time with her today to kind of reflect on what she's seen and done over the last 20 plus years, and also celebrate her leadership and her wisdom, her insight and compassion. So many things to talk to you about today, Amy. There's a lot to celebrate, as well as your contributions and your center's contributions to building better opportunities and supports for autistic people on the spectrum and their families, and so many other folks who take advantage of OCALI's tools and resources and leadership and opportunities as well. So again, thank you for being here, Amy. And let's get into it. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Talk to us a little bit about your story, your path, your journey, your origins. How did you start out?
I worked at a summer camp when I was in the beginning of high school. It was a camp for children with special needs ran by the University of Akron. My girlfriend and I, who grew up in church together, went and we did it together. And every year I went back, and at that time, I was assigned a camper who was not at the time diagnosed with autism, but she, I'm pretty sure, had autism, had a lot of needs. So they assigned her to me. And from that moment that I worked with her, I knew this is what I'm doing with my life.
That's
and
awesome.
Every year I went back and I worked through college, and got a special ed degree.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you do with her? Were you able to figure out how to kind of help?
Oh, we
address
swam. we ran because she
Physical
loved
activity.
to run.
Yeah.
And she was a very active young lady. She didn't sit very much. So we really just tried to explore the camp and get her engaged in activities that provided her what I know now as vestibular and proprioceptive input, and really gave her a lot of sensory input because that's what she needed. But at the time, a lot of people didn't understand that. And so, I probably ran marathons during the summer with her because we just explored that campground a lot.
But
yes.
That's really cool. Like, you figured that out on your own as a teenager? Like, we talk about like really customizing things per individual needs. And you just kind of, without really having any kind of formal background, you just kind of figured that out in the moment?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if Megan would agree, but there are some people that just they get it in their heart and in their gut. And I think I was one of those because she did not respond to the camp type routine of go sit here, sing camp songs, go here, do this. And we could have, air quotes, made her do that, but it wouldn't have been comfortable for her. So we did a lot of running and we swam. She loved to swim. So, and I am not an Olympic swimmer. I can swim. So
wait, you have a pool?
Yes, I know. But we swam, and as time went on and as she got more comfortable with me and I got more comfortable with her, she was able to engage more in the routine of the camp and that. Yeah, that was my start.
Yeah, that kind of set the stage at a very early age. I think it's really
very
cool
early.
to see that arc throughout your career then. All right, so take us back to when you were interested in this job at this new center. Kind of what happened back then? How did you then?
Like, how did it start?
Yeah.
Was this considered statewide when it first started, like a statewide agency?
Well, it had just been birthed. I mean, really, I interviewed with one director and the team that was at OCALI. And mind you, back then, the team at OCALI, when it was birthed, there were maybe 10 people. I mean,
total.
So, yeah. So not even that, I don't think. When I walked in to interview, they all were sitting at a table ready for me. And I'm like, but.
Which is a practice we continue to
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Group interviews.
Yes, we do. And interviewed and thankfully got the position. Right after that, our executive director was interviewed for the...
You were here before.
I got to interview
Sean
Henry. Yes, I did.
Do you want to tell that story?
No, I don't want to tell that story. No. But he was given the position. So he and I have pretty much been together from the beginning.
Wow.
You know, Sean's a visionary person and Sean's a big picture person. And so he started seeing big pictures. And so we have expanded into a variety of centers that now OCALI is not just known for autism. It is known for assistive technology and accessible materials. It is known for deaf, blind, visual, hearing differences. It's known for curriculum access. It's known for PBIS and universal design for learning. I mean, for
transition to
adulthood, little people, preschool, our toddlers in our birth to 3 years of age. So, I mean, we cover now the gamut of birth through adulthood.
When you first started, what were the goals, aspirations, needs, challenges? Like, what were you focusing on first, like back in 2005?
Well, when I was hired to be more of a consultant and kind of go in and work in buildings and work in classrooms and help.
But you were physically traveling?
I was traveling a lot.
She traveled down to see me in her original couple of years. I don't remember how far back it was, but Amy, I met her when I was in the classroom.
Yes, a long time. Thanks, Megan, for telling how old I am. Yeah, a long time ago. And as Sean got his feet planted in Ohio and at OCALI, the mission and the vision of OCALI started to develop. And, I was able to hire regional specialists to come work in the Autism Center. And then we just started to grow and grow and grow.
But I think part of our challenge, right, because we were established as a statewide center, but we didn't have a lot of staff members, as we've already talked about. So how do you function as a statewide center across, and Ohio's not the biggest state, but it's a big state. And it's hard to physically be in all places.
Yeah. For the Autism Center, because the Autism Center at OCALI is really focused on building capacity we hired these regional people. So we had people in Southeast Ohio, Southwest Ohio, Northeast Ohio. We would work with the state support teams, and they have been fabulous partners for OCALI in general.
But I think it does go back to like I remember just in the earlier, like AIM, right? The Autism Internet Month. Like there was always this emphasis on there's just no way we can physically cover and you talked about Sean as a visionary. I mean, he's talked, we are an Ohio-based center, but we've always been...
We are global.
Global, right? National and international even. So there's always been this like aspirational to, yes, we are Ohio-based, but what we produce, what we offer, the connections, the resources is applicable anyone, anywhere. And so planting that seed like early on, and I know Sheila was instrumental in leading a lot of that work, our colleague Sheila Smith with the Autism Internet modules. But I think that was an early characteristic hallmark of OCALI.
AIM was one of the first, if not the first, online training, professional development opportunity through OCALI. And
anybody anywhere could access it and take.
Yes, you can take them. And from AIM, then as we saw, colleges use the course, the modules and courses. And as we saw people taking the modules for renewal of their license and things like that, we saw that people still needed training, but couldn't necessarily go to a training to do it. So with AIM came ATIM, the Assistive Technology Internet modules, who Jan Rogers and Heather Bridgman had a huge part in that. And then came ASD Strategies in Action, which, there was a bunch of us that worked on that, but really... That
was kind of a shift because it was more video-based.
Yes, very video-based.
Where we went out and recorded a lot of on-site examples to show people.
We would go into classrooms, we would go into homes, we would go into work settings, we would go because a person with autism or an autistic child will grow up to be an autistic adult. And so we need to see all environments so that we can provide the most beneficial programming support services and practices for them to be successful at all ages of their life. Yeah.
So I think one of the things I love about the Autism Center coming from the classroom and then working at the SST and now within the Autism Center is how you revamp your resources all the time. So talking about the Autism Internet modules, when I was in the classroom, I would use them with my paraprofessionals, like, paraprofessional day, why don't you guys work on some Autism Internet modules. And then when I went to the SST, it was collaborating with Julie and Denise and you to do these virtual Autism Internet module studies, which we do with Bobby Huffman as well. And now, we're always thinking about how we can reuse our products, like how we can revamp them. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you as a leader is we don't always have to create something new. It's how can we reuse what we already have.
And thank you. And also, looking through the universal design for learning lens, that some people enjoy reading text. They enjoy that. Some people learn better when they see. Some people learn better to listen to. So that's why we explored podcasts this year. So we're really trying to represent in a way so that those learners can retrieve the information, but in a variety of formats, if you will. And now that we have Teresa Croson on, who, shout out to Teresa, is just a fabulous adult learner expert and instructional design. Autism, she's BCBA, she's an OT, she's a jack of all trades. She is really going to hone in on making AIM even a little bit more interactive. So as Megan said, you don't always have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Things change. And so you need to tweak and you need to kind of morph and bend a little bit. You have to be Gumby in this field. You do. I mean, you got to be able to bend and pivot and squirrel, we're going this way now. That's just what education's about. And when we get more research in autism or in complex needs, and we learn more about trauma responsive practices, or we learn more about catatonia, or we learn more about interoception and all of those things, we need to include those in our information, but we don't have to necessarily start from scratch.
Yeah. Just thinking about the evolution of us as an organization, I think, and we still are highly focused on education, but I think we've also broadened, and you've kind of hinted at it. So it isn't, like you said, it's not the child on the spectrum is going to grow up to be an adult. And so as an organization, I think under Sean's leadership, we've had this expansive vision, and we are a lifespan agency, which makes us a unique entity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you think about it, kiddos can start school as early as 3, for preschool. Maybe they're in early intervention, but preschool, and they can go until they're through their 21st birthday. Okay, that's how 3 to 21 subtract, that's 18 years.
18 years, you got it.
That is 1/4 of your life, 1/6 of it. However, adulthood is what we really need to focus on. And so whatever we do during these 18 years really needs to prepare for adulthood. And we have heard from colleagues ourselves that have adults who are autistic that it's hard out there. The services are different. You're not under IDEA. You don't have a free and appropriate public education. You don't have all the services and supports that fall under education. So we need to continue to develop those services and supports in the adult arena because we live long lives.
Yeah.
And they need the support and services to have a quality life that they so desire, not what we think they desire.
Like you said, Simon, we do focus on K-12, PK-12.
Yeah.
But I do know from the Autism Center point of view is that, you're always asking, so how do we also support the families? How do we go and work with the Board of DDs? It's not just working with school districts, it's working with the community.
Which I think is another characteristic of OCALI, right? Like from the very beginning, we're not doing this alone. We're not going this alone. We've always leaned heavily, graciously, appreciatively into our partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're on the micro, the very local level to, leadership across the state, across other states. I think that's just another element of what makes OCALI OCALI. We are a convener and a partnerer, if I can coin the term. But that's how we get things done. We don't.
Yeah, that's how we roll.
That's how we roll.
We roll. And both the Autism Center and the Multi-System Navigation Center lean heavily on experts in their areas. I mean, 2 of my closest, dearest friends are Kelly Mahler and Dr. Ruth Aspey. I mean, I have worked with them forever now, and I will be lost when I'm not talking to them almost every other day.
I think especially in this field, like when you are so passionate, the work and the personal really start to blend together because you can't help it, right? And it's hard. It's not easy stuff. So I think these are things that bind us together in a lot of ways that you maybe wouldn't find in other professions.
No, these are things that we celebrate together and we cry together about. And that is one of those, and you're going to get me going, aren't you? That is one of those questions that you asked me about, what will I miss? Those connections. Yeah. They have helped me to grow both personally and professionally. I mean, I have friends all over the country that I can call colleagues and friends and lean on when necessary and say, hey, let me pick your brain. Can I pick your brain? Or have you heard about this? And it's been a huge part of my life. Who I am is very much made up of the years that I've been in this field and the experiences that I've had and the joys that have come into my life. I'm so grateful and so thankful for the opportunities that OCALI has given me. I mean, my dear friend Jill Hudson and I wrote a book. I would have never done that if I hadn't come to OCALI and met Jill. And we just sat at a coffee shop and started brainstorming about a book. I would have never been able to present across the country or been able to work alongside DEW or DODD to create projects from the ground up that impact hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, or been able to train thousands of people, and not it being about me training, but about getting the information out to people.
You have so much passion and so much of your life invested. But was that a hard decision to decide to retire at this point? Because I will say you have a very youthful countenance.
Oh, thank you.
And energy.
Yes, I am young to retire.
Oh, trust me, when I found out she was retiring, I was like, wait, no, yeah, at least 5 more years.
I had the opportunity. I graduated right away from college. Mm-hmm. Surprising. Yeah. My husband's like, yeah, surprising. And then I got a job right away. And so, and our son came on later on in life. Mm-hmm. I really didn't take time off from my, career. And 35
so it's
years.
Been pretty continuous.
Oh yeah. 35 years. And they always say, you'll know when it's time. I know that I am leaving the Autism Center in great hands. The woman next to me, Mrs. Megan Trowbridge, will be taking this role and filling my shoes. And so I have no doubt that this center will continue to develop and even maybe go into a little different area, that maybe expand into other areas that aren't what I was thinking, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Change is good. And as our society changes and as kids' needs change and families change, we need to change. Mm-hmm. And that's hard. Mm-hmm. It's very hard, but Megan, as she said, she's known OCALI from a very young teacher all the way through. So she is very informed of OCALI, and we're not going to miss a beat in this center. And the other ladies that are in the center, you would think Teresa was with us forever and today. She's only been here a couple of years, but she's like our long lost redheaded cousin, that lives in Virginia. Yes. Yeah, she just stepped in and joined the family, and that's what this center has been about. And I think that's what will be hard.
Well, I think that's like the nice thing about this center is the people here have not left.
Nope.
Julie and Denise have been a staple. Wendy, whose job I took over, all of them have been here for years.
I hired them all, and they came in a couple of years after me. So Julie and Denise have been here 16, 17 years. Mm-hmm. And Wendy was here just as long. She retired about a year or so ago, going on 2 years. Mm-hmm. People who come here, pretty much, we've had people leave in other centers, but most of the time people stay because of the vision and the passion and the dedication. And I will say, at OCALI, I have never seen more dedicated people towards an area of concentration being people with disabilities and families. Yeah. It's been a good 20 years here at OCALI. I kind of look at it as the analogy of a symphony and a conductor. And I've had the privilege of conducting these centers for several years. But each of the instrumentalists brings their own expertise, the violin or the pianist or the big bass drum or whatever the case may be. The conductor really helps them to play the music together. But each of them have an expertise that without that person, you can't create that beautiful song. And now it's time for me to pass the wand to Megan so she can conduct. And they'll continue to grow and add more instrumentalists as our colleagues continue to retire or move on. But this music will continue to play. It will.
That was Amy Bixler Coffin, Program Director of the Autism Center at OCALI and Program Manager of the Multisystem Navigation Center, again at OCALI, helping us connect the dots on her 20-plus years here at OCALI. She's been here from the beginning, and her 35-year career in education. Megan and I are so grateful for Amy's time and reflections as we celebrate and commemorate her leadership and contributions over all these years, and the impact that her centers have made on families, professionals, and people with autism and disabilities. It's a big and bittersweet moment for her and for OCALI. Amy is retiring later this year. Of course, it is a well-deserved milestone and transition after all her years of service. But we will miss our colleague and friend. I am excited that my podcast co-host, Dr. Megan Trowbridge, will be the next program director of the Autism Center at OCALI, and have no doubts that she and the Autism Center team will continue Amy's work and legacy. So congratulations, Megan. We look forward to your next chapter as well. You've been listening to Connecting the Dots podcast series from the Autism Center at OCALI. You can find out more about the wide array of resources, offerings, and opportunities from the Autism Center by visiting ocali.org. We'll close out with a thank you, Amy, or ABC, as we'd like to call you. We wish you all the best, because you are the best. Sounds like, though, you're maybe not going too far away, and we may see you again in some capacity. Maybe taking on some new projects? Heck, you've got this podcast thing down. Why don't you come back as our senior correspondent? Well, whatever it is, stay tuned. We look forward to the next adventure with you. Thank you, dear friend. I'm Simon Buer. On behalf of myself and co-host Megan Trowbridge, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.